Well, hey everyone. It's a sports algorithm podcast, sports betting podcast. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to start with college football, and then we're going to get into Monday night action in four other sports that are going on today, being NBA, NFL. We have a Monday night NFL game right here. Looks like we're favoring the Vikings right now. We've also got college basketball, a lighter day, as most of the holiday tournaments are over now, and hockey. But first, we're going to start with college football. And we're going to talk about college football. And we're going to talk about betting strategies in conjunction with the round robin parlay calculator that I have. Because I took a look at college football and I thought, I spent the whole season working on college football for the first real full year that I've done this. And of course, the algorithms always get better later in the year as you gather more stats for the season. But I took a look at this and I was like, why did I not bet this weekend? What was I thinking not betting on the last week of college football? Boy, did this thing do incredible. Let's explain how and why. So what you're seeing this in order of algorithm win percentage. Very simple calculation that's being drawn off of this season pivot sheet and just different percentages of stats and stuff. It's pretty easy to read. And you can see that it has, it goes 47 and 17 on the money line. And usually, that's good, 73% win, but it matters the order here. And of course, what the lines are. How do you bet this to maximize profit? How do you pick these winners? So what I did to show how profitable this was over the past week is I connected this file to the round robin parlay calculator. So what it does is it grabs the team and the line and whether or not they won or lost the game on the money line. And it looks at the top of the list going down, right? So what it's saying is, because we can handle up to 15 games in the round robin parlay calculator, saying if you took the top 15 teams, this is what those teams were, and these are the lines that they were at, you would have made 9-1 on your money just doing a parlay on the top 15 teams. A lot of these lines were awful, though, and I wouldn't recommend taking lines that are this bad. It usually doesn't pay hardly anything. But they won so much that you still made 9-1 on your money. Well, take a look at this, because we ended up winning the top 22 games on this list before Fresno State loses down here. And then there's another chunk of wins here. This is still 10 out of these 13 games here. And you want to kind of look at games that have a higher algorithm win percentage. Usually in NFL, it was always above 20% is probably where the cutoff is, where there's a strong likelihood that this team is going to win. So let me show you some simulations of the kind of money you could have made if you put some restrictions on your bets. So instead of taking the top 15 games on the list, what if you said, all right, I don't want to take any game that has a line that's worse than minus 1,000. You can put a filter on here and say greater than a money line that was greater than minus 1,000. This is going to only show games that had a line that was better than minus 1,000. We still win the top 15 games. What does that pay? That pays, it's going to update in a second here. It pays 27-1. 27-1, right? Because they all win. Well, another thing you can do is you can say, all right, say maybe you don't want to do just a parlay because you might, lose one game and lose everything. Say you want to take, say you have a big bankroll for this. You can put maybe 10 cents on every single parlay combination. That's a $3,000 bet. That's still out of the bankroll of most people. So let's say we cut that off at right around here, 10 or better. So now you'd have to hit 10 or better. Here's a almost $500 bet. That still pays almost 10-1, right? Amazing. And this is not that complicated. These are all teams that were just at the top of the list. I mean, talk about missing the boat on making bets on these games. Well, what if we want to cut down this filter even more and say, all right, I don't want games that have a line that's worse than minus 500. How about those games? Here, we end up, it looks like, is it 14-1? Unbelievable. Let's see what that would have paid. These are the games where the lines are better than minus 500. You still get 3.5 to 1. But notice it's not as good as when you get every single pick correctly. And you don't have to do 15 games. You can bring this down to fewer games. But I just wanted to show how really reliable the winners were at the top of the list in college football. I will prepare this for the bowl games and the playoffs that occur in college football this year because it's working so well at this point that we may as well do it. But I just figured we'd bring that up because I mean, I didn't bet any of these games over the weekend, and sure enough, you have a huge string of wins up top. And here's the other thing. Was this better than the odds makers? There's a way we can look at that. I mean, look at these string of wins at the top, right? You've got 22 wins at the top. Well, what about when you sort this by descending by money line, or sorry, ascending by money line, meaning worst money lines on top. This is the way the odds makers had it. Did they win the top 22 games? I don't know the answer to this. We're going to find out. They won more than that. Look at that. How about that? They won 24. So I shouldn't brag about it. Shouldn't brag about it at all. Did we get any of our underdogs correct? Only 2 and 5. So really, it was a day where the favorites did excellent, and you just needed to go by what the odds maker said. It really wasn't necessarily an algorithm doing anything excellent. So it's good to know that college football can tend to be a game where the lines are somewhat soft and that it can be reliable. So that was pretty intriguing to see how profitable college football was. But yeah, algorithm did good, but really not much better than what the odds makers did. Good to know. And so you can probably take a look at what the odds makers are saying for a lot of the bowl games, and you'll probably do pretty well, as they're working pretty well at this stage in the year. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the rest of the sports for today and see if there are any picks that are screaming out saying we should take. Let's start with the NFL game, which everyone I'm sure cares about. So NFL had an okay week. I updated this yesterday. And without the Monday night game, we ended up going 10-6, and it looks like we really got pummeled on the Thursday and Friday games, right? So Sunday was actually a really good day. Thursday and Friday games only go 2-2 with Detroit losing, and the Jets. We had apparently had the Jets in this scenario, but I think we had Miami back when I did the video. Sunday, however, was pretty good. Low scoring game that the Patriots end up blowing to the Giants, and then you have the Saints losing and the Bengals losing a low one. Everything else wins. Were there any underdogs anywhere? What were the money lines on this game? Why am I not showing money lines? Let's open that up. Money line, yeah. Looks like Bengals were an underdog and lost. It was really, once again, all favorites. Nothing all that deviates all that much from what the odds makers had, but it was a pretty good game. Look at all these teams covering as well. How about that? It's a lot of green up here on top. So I guess it was a pretty good week. Now, as for the Monday night game, we have Minnesota. We have this higher on the list here. Thinks they win 30-23, and the line's only minus 166, or it was as of Saturday or Sunday. So we do have Minnesota beating the Bears, and we'll see if that ends up happening. We also have that going over the points by 10 points. So do you take Minnesota? Well, according to the algorithm, apparently you do. So let's throw that on our round robin for the day, as we're going to craft a Monday night round robin, which I will bet this. I will bet this, and I will tell you how this goes today. So I've already looked over the files to have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be playing. So that's NFL. Go over to NBA. Only saw one thing on the NBA list that I was willing to take because the injuries for the Sixers and the Pelicans are too disturbing to try to take either of those teams. This line is terrible at minus 650 in the Pacers game. Pistons over my local Washington Wizards that I don't want to talk too much trash because we want this game to win. But the Pistons there at that 4% margin, they are healthier. That's consistent on all fronts. So that game goes on here. Now we've got 2 picks. Now let's go over, paste that. Now let's go over to college basketball. College basketball, lighter schedule today. What you want to look at is you want to look at chosen games. Those are games that are consistent within past year stats and current season stats. There are 11 of those games. And what pops up here is this UMBC game. They are away, but it is popping up there over the 5% home bump threshold. So even if you bump this by 5%, you still end up having UMBC on here. So this is a pick. And this St. Mary's game is also a pick because you have some injuries on Utah. So those 2 are the most reliable picks in college basketball today. We will throw that on there. Now, let's go back and some of the not chosen games. We have some big, huge underdogs on here, but they're not consistent from previous years. This Northern Illinois game over Northwestern, taking them plus 13.5 and like the points here, the 13.5 points. There's some potential there, but they are away and it's not as reliable for something like a round robin. So we'll just leave that off for now. We'll go over to hockey. Hockey, you've got 5 games on the schedule. You have Boston at a really bad line over Columbus. Spencer Martin going, does not have a good rating. Boston abnormally has dropped a few games in the past. They're not playing as well as they were. So hockey's just such a tough game. You don't really want to take anybody minus 265. So we're going to stay away from that. Florida and Ottawa, close game that apparently goes the way of Florida, but it's really close. Buffalo and the Rangers, once again, another bad line here, but the Rangers are probably going to win this game, and that's showing up as the #1 pick of the day. So we will take the Rangers because I've seen a worse line. It's not a great line, but we'll take the Rangers on there. And then Tampa Bay and Colorado, boy, does it think this game is going to be a regulation tie. And it pays great. I mean, the regulation tie pays at least 3-1 every time. It's a riskier bet, but Vasilevsky is back after injury and has been playing well and could stand up and take a lot of shots and make a lot of saves. So I'm tempted to take that on here, but it's not a great round robin pick, but it is a good straight bet pick because it probably pays 3-1. Vegas and Calgary. Here, this line is really not bad for Vegas. And they have got one of the strongest win strengths on there. So we're going to take Vegas as well. And then we have the most fun game for those of us who are local to the Washington area, which is this Washington-San Jose game. And what I found most interesting about this game was that the over-under is set at 5.5 for some reason. Of all the games, this one has the lowest over-under. That does not make a lot of sense. As you can see in the list here, you've got the poorest goalies, except for Spencer Martin and Markstrom. You've got the 2 of the bottom 4 goalies in ranking are on here, and Kemper has really not been playing very well. San Jose gives up a ton of shots and has been giving up a ton of goals against good teams in general. So why this game only has 5.5 over under, I have no idea. That game should go over. So we're going to do Washington versus San Jose over 5.5, and we'll assume it's minus 110. Now, that being said, you've got 7 picks on here. You could put $1 on every single combination. And if you hit all 7 of these picks, you'll win about 8.5 to 1. That's a reasonable wager. You don't have to hit all of them to make money. Let's say that UMBC, the underdog, does not win. This is probably the most suspect pick out of all of these on this list. You'd still win $3 52 or about 2-1 on your money. If you go 6-1, if you lose, say the Rangers lose, you lose another one. Now you're going to get close to breaking even, or you make just a little bit of money if you go 5-2. So that's something you could look at. You could also you don't necessarily have to focus on all 7 combinations. You can do something like this and put about $100 on just the 4s. And in this situation, you make a little bit more money going 5-2, but you make less if you hit all of them. Instead of hitting, getting 8.5 to 1, you hit all of them, you still get 8.2 to 1. How about that? That's interesting. You realize that, right? What was it? It was more than that. More than that with this. It was about the same. Is that right? How is that correct? Oh, because you're putting that on just the 4s and you're not paying 2s and 3s. That's right. Interesting. So playing something like the 4s is a little bit more reliable. You'll get more payout back if you can win at least 4 games. You'll see that that's kind of the way that works. It's good to run simulations in here to figure out where the sweet spot is when playing round robins. And I found that it's about the 4s when you have something like 7 pegs. So this is the best of the best coming out of the algorithms today. And of course, college football, it just had a good day by the odds and a good day in the algorithm as well. And that was where the money was to be made over the weekend for sure. All right. So good luck, everyone. That's the Monday Sports Algorithm Podcast and the update. You can purchase copies of these algorithms from me and update them in conjunction with a subscription to RotoWire and run these every day to get some intelligence. All right. Good luck. May all your picks be winning.